So this is a quick video I'm doing about Are You a Monster? That's just the title, you know. Yeah, it's edgy and catchy and it gets people to click on it, and yes, it will cut out the monster part, when the title gets generated or when I make it. So is it kind of clickbait? Yes, and no. But the the idea I've had for this video has been rolling around my head for a while, and the way I approached it is I guess we all have instances of people's unexplained change in behavior. Um, and I guess people would say, well, maybe like multiple personality disorder or psychotic break. And I would say, um, yes, but for people, I would say that's the case. That would be the case for people who are looking at a stranger. But for someone who knows a person almost their whole life, and then for them to have a psychotic break or multiple personalities, you can tell if you're that person's friend or family member that that's still them, right? That is, it's deviation from the same personality. That at the root of this there is one personality, and that's your friend or family member. And just because someone from the outside is like, well, that person's having a they're going schizo, it's still them. Um, Multiple personalities is a little bit different. You have to be actually friends or family to be able to tell what's going on, or that that is still the same person. A root personality, they would call that, where it's almost like a tree. Multiple personalities is like a tree, where you have a root personality, and all the other personalities spring off of that. Like I said, like a tree, and the other personalities are fruit. So what I'm talking about is something a little bit more, I guess we call esoteric. It doesn't exactly rely on scientific information or data, but it relies on observational data. And that is actually where science came from, as observations. Things you could observe, you would note down, and then in tests, you would try to make the same conditions that brought that consequence or that action about. So you could repeat it and repeat it and repeat it, and that would be something that would then be done in front of your peers, a peer-reviewed study, and you should have no problem showing notes and stuff like that. That's how science was done until politicians and special interest groups got into it. Um, but what I'm talking about is like an observation, right? And what this is relying on is something like instincts, right? I brought this up in a lot of other videos. You don't need to watch these. I'll just say it here that humans have a instinct. People have an instinct for what's wrong. They can tell if someone's bad or not. Um, all that stuff. The motherly instinct, the fatherly instinct to protect, the motherly instinct that tells them, oh, there's something wrong with my kid. And not everybody has that. I'm just saying, as people, that's coded into us. That's in our genetics. Um, what I'm talking about is like Jekyll and Hyde. Um, I don't know if that's required reading nowadays in school. I'm guessing not. Uh, but it's sort of like a guy that has two personalities, or it's not multiple personalities. It's a guy that has two people living in one body. That's what Jekyll and Hyde is. It's sort of like Hulk. You want to bring it into an example that kids and people my age might understand. It's Hulk from the Avengers, right? It's a skinny dude. It's one person, and then there's this big monster that's another being living together in one body. They're roommates, right? And what I would say on that is that everybody, from the moment they're born, has to fight with. Here's the edgy shit. Has to fight with an inner monster. Everybody has their Jekyll that they fight with, and you may not know what it is. You may do things. I think an example of fighting with that from an early age is um, kids and adolescents may do things that they can't explain that might hurt other people, and they don't know why, but they feel bad about it. Like, I'm sorry, I don't know what came over me, I don't know why I did that. And people bring up, serial killers and stuff. Like, having no conscience is different than having a completely different thing living in your body. And I brought it up before. It's like possession. That's the only other way I know how to put it. That it's, like I said, I don't know what came over me. Like, you take a backseat to your body, and throughout your life, you have to fight this other thing that's trying to take over your body, pretty much. And I'm just going to try to keep this going in a direction. That as you get older, it's already hard to deal with that as a kid because you're going through school. But you're in school, that's it, right? You go home. As you get older, you get out of school, you're an adult, you start working a job, you have all these extra pressures coming down on you. The famous song by the Queen, Under Pressure. It's very much what that's about. Pressure is a physical force in it, but it's like it piles in on top of you. Like being stuck in an avalanche. Like you start skiing, you have this avalanche come behind you, and it just buries you. And a little bit of snow is fine, then a little bit more and you can barely move, and then a lot of snow, you're trapped. And on top of that, you're fighting with this thing that's not you, but you're not sure what it is. Because in school or in Western society, you're not taught about anything spiritual. Other societies are further along in that aspect than us because we deny spiritual things. I'm just going to say that. We would rather take schizo pills to deny things that other cultures and countries acknowledge. And I'm going to bring up the Asians. I'm not saying they're perfect. I'm just saying that a lot of Eastern meditation comes from those countries for a reason. That they are, for all the societal problems they have, they're mindful, and they're generally nicer than we are, because they're sort of like into the feng shui, into the spirit of a room. Whereas we tend to fill our house with crap or stuff that has like no personality. It's just, that's what was in the magazine. Or whatever. But we take pills for stuff that other countries acknowledge. That's what I'm saying. And that because of that, we in the West are not given the tools to handle something trying to basically hijack our body. People say, well, you're talking about a Karen, or whatever a male version of a Karen is. I say no. A Karen is very premeditated. It takes a special kind of person to berate and belittle someone for something very little or for no reason at all in public. That's premeditated. And actually, you can say that person's a Karen that's doing that, then that person is one step to being a monster. And that fits into what I'm saying. That you have people say you'll work yourself to death, or you'll go to sleep and never wake up. And what they mean by that is ego death, right? Ego death, the death of the self. Where it's like, I just feel so tired I could die. And you go to sleep, and your body wakes up, and you're somewhat conscious of what's going on, but it's like being on a really bad trip or being on drugs. It's like you start, like you are tied up and you're put in the back seat of your own brain, looking out your eyes, and something that looks like you is driving the car, right? That's what I said earlier. People say, I don't know what came over me. I don't know why I act that way, and they look shocked and bewildered. That people who start cracking under the pressure of everyday society, the Karens, people who start becoming Karens or Chris's or whatever you want to call them, that person's already, probably too far gone, right? That they may have people in their life that's pressuring them to do stuff, and wants them to be this way and is trying to take them and push them a certain way, or they've acted ways to people like guilt or whatever, will push you to this point, right? And all throughout your life, like I said, you are fighting with an invisible man, right? That you can't see, you don't have words for. It's a concept, but you're not told what it is. Sort of like what I bring up in my earlier videos. Call me a pedophile. Every human being is born knowing about the concept of sex. It's the words they don't have. And that's another thing is, everybody's born fighting with a monster, but we are not given the words. We have the concept. And sometimes it comes out through me, it's like the monster in me or whatever. People use those titles talking about serial killers, or I raised a monster, or I lived with a monster. It's like, where did those terms come from? Right? People talk about the images in the cave of Plato, the Plato's cave, where they have the projection, and then they have what's casting in the projection. You can't see, it's a little bit further over your shoulder. That's the idea. The idea of a monster has been around for centuries. Jekyll and Hyde, possession, all this stuff. And things that come along that could cause you to lose that fight, right? And so I guess people were wondering, how does this help me out then? Let's say I feel like I'm headed that way. I feel like I'm losing control. I feel like I want to give up. What can I do? Well, if you can't leave the situation, you feel like it's pushing you to basically turn into a Karen or a monster, something that's not you. I'm not myself. There you go. There's another term. These are words. They have meaning. In school, you're taught about spelling and arithmetic, right? Curse words, spelling. This is all stuff, it's in the words. It's what it does is what it says on the tin is what it does. But to get into is like, if you can't physically leave a situation that's pushing you in that direction, then mentally leave, right? Think about it like dreaming, right? Like lucid dreaming, like not just like you're walking through a haze. Picture yourself, a version of yourself inside your head, and distance yourself from where you are and walk away. And leave what is basically a mannequin behind. It looks like you. It's still doing stuff maybe, but you, the actual you, your conscience, gets pulled away. And I don't mean partially, but I mean just disconnect. Just disconnect. People who are visual thinkers and learners are very gifted. When it comes to that, I am kind of like that. But I try to be very descriptive with my words because I know some people aren't. I'm not trying to make the video go longer. I'm not monetized. But that's a whole thing in of itself. And what I mean by that is the brain does not like pain, right? So you, as a person, make sure you know when you are being pushed to turn into something, when you are at your breaking point, or when someone is telling you something that you need to hear. So the thing that's making you go to your breaking point, turning into a monster or Karen, is different than making you uncomfortable, right? And that's the downside of me telling people this stuff. When they hear this, their brain will now use it as an excuse. Someone may be telling you something that makes you uncomfortable to help you. But like, if you see this video, it's like, well, this one content creator said that I just need to disconnect because I'm being turned into a Karen. And you may not be thinking that way, but you will start mentally distancing yourself. Your brain does a lot to censor you, information. So a lot of this involves is knowing yourself, right? Knowing who you are. Who is Gobi Ness? Who is Judd Carbine? Do you feel bad, or are you doing bad? Like my instance, am I, do I feel like I'm not able to work, or am I not able to work? It's very different. It's, it's like, and this is a small tangent. This is like people who try to get out of the balance in video games, where you can keep walking and walking and walking, and there's a soft barrier. The soft barrier is time. It's like no one's going to take the time to actually walk the edge of the game, but some people do. So they go through. They go through that soft barrier, and that's the I feel like I'm ill part. I need to keep walking through that, and you get to a point where it's like, well, I'm actually not doing well, and then you stop. So where you stop is where your actual barrier is. Almost like the bounds of the game, like the hard barrier, the kill box, or whatever you want to call it, where you walk to it and you just start rubbing your face against an invisible wall. That's where you go from I can't or I don't think I can to I'm not able to. Thinking and being able is different. It's just like feelings. A disabled person is someone who's not able to interact with society like people who are, people with various conditions can. If you can still talk and walk and hold on to stuff, you're not like a person who's disabled from walking, right? Breaking your leg and sitting in a wheelchair for a couple months is not the same as being wheelchair bound. You're bound to the chair. You can't move. Like you are unable to move. But how far is this video? Oh my god, 17 minutes. Okay. We'll have a moment of silence and let everything sink in. Just want to breathe. And if you're thinking to yourself right now, how does any of this apply to me? Then you should not watch. If you don't feel like you should watch any of my videos, then the information in the videos aren't for you. They're for somebody else. But even when you're in prison, you still have free will. If someone has your body in prison, their mind is still free. As they say, take your ball and walk away. Because if becoming brain dead it's better to become brain dead than become a monster. Because at least you're able to walk back to your body. Your ego and yourself dying, going to sleep and not waking up, you will be a passenger in your own body for the rest of your life. And you'll have to watch through your eyes something speaking out of your mouth that looks like you, ruining your relationships and your friendships. So if you're in a situation, if you're in a job, if you think you're able to leave it all, if you think a friendship's not good for you, if you think your boss is talking to you a certain way, that's pushing you in this direction of actually losing yourself completely. Like, I'm going to lose it. People going postal. I would say a person who goes postal isn't even there. Psychologically, they're not even there. They're not even home. Their brain scrambles like an egg. So, clickbaity title aside, I hope this helped. I hope it gets to the people who need to see it.